So you will see that my face quite a few times. I'm going to do a video for each section so you guys can understand what's expected of you on these assignments. As always, if you guys need me for anything, remember I am available for video chats, or I could do WhatsApp, or you can send me an email and I can help you get through what you guys are looking at. I'm going to start us off with discussion. This seems to be the one that everybody does the most. What I'm looking for in a discussion is a demonstration of your critical thinking. How many of these can you work into your conversation with me? One of the big things about your discussion is understanding that the discussion and the reply are just as important to each other. When you're having your discussions with me, I should be seeing you flex those critical thinking skills. These are just a handful of critical thinking skills that help you speak in a more elevated manner, more academically, more intellectually, more philosophically. First, you want to always hit the top row in everything you do. Define what you're talking about. Don't assume we know. You tell us the definition. Tell us the word so we're in the same lane with you. How are you justifying it? Are you just speaking out of your mouth? Or are you justifying it with studies, with leaks, with evidence? Are you using examples? Are you showing us its strengths, its weaknesses? Are you explaining, comparing, and contrasting? Are you leaving us no room to argue with you? So that's what we mean by talking critically. So we should be seeing links and resources, pictures and pages. We should be seeing a persuasive speech coming from you to convince us of what you're talking about. And above all, we need to see historical and cultural context. When we're talking about philosophy, ethics, or humanities, nothing happens in a bubble. Nothing just happens spontaneously. I'll argue that on a hill and die there because, for example, in our humanities class, we were just talking about boomers and how the boomer generation is so patriotic compared to the Gen Xers. Well, historically speaking, yeah, the boomers grew up in a different time period with different types of government, different types of wars. They didn't grow up in a global community. They grew up in a very sheltered state type of society. Whereas the Gen Xers, it was the dawn of the internet. They saw new cultures. They traveled around more. We just left the 70s where we were hitchhiking all over the place. We didn't trust our government, and it was a vastly different type of experience. So when you talk about what does it mean to be an American, or what's the American identity, or what's a nationalistic identity, what's a patriotic identity, culturally speaking, you would have to define that. Be like, okay, well, historically speaking, this is what they would have been. And then what I mean by cultural experience, again, you're coming back to this. Culturally speaking, I need to illustrate a point. If I say, yeah, my grandparents got married when they were 16 and already had 2 kids by the time they're 22. Whoa. Okay, so what was going on with this? A religious culture? Was this a secular culture? Was this a Midwestern culture? Like, where is this coming from? So in the discussion, there is so much that you need to give us because I shouldn't be guessing. I'm not here to read your mind. So, and since we're not having a conversation, I can't read your facial cues. So you have to put everything on the table. So that's why I say all discussions that you present to us need to be at least 2 to 3 paragraphs, at least 2 minimum. You need to give yourself room to talk so we can get a clear picture of what you're talking about. So this is an example, this is an example of what I call the paragraph flow. It is going to usually be a topic sentence and a conclusion that are combined. And in the middle, it's just all of your justification and talks. Let me give you an example. Let me move me over. This is an example of an A+. It is not because it's long. It is because every single sentence is supporting or piggybacking something else, and it is leading the reader to a solid conclusion. You see here, they start with an assertion. That assertion leads directly to this because they are backing up what they're saying right here with one solid continuation to another, and it's leading them to a second one, and that second one is being backed up as well. So you can see here, this one is just piecing it together like a chess game, and it's going to be hard for us to argue with them, and I'm really going to have to study what they say and articulate something back that is either expanding on what they're saying or is challenging what they're saying. I'm not going to agree, I'm going to expand. This big difference. So here's an example of an average one. Now, it's not bad. I don't really see a solid conclusion, so they're just kind of talking into the wind. But, you know, they do have some feelings here. They're not necessarily connected. Like, this one doesn't necessarily connect with the rest. This one doesn't really connect with the rest. These two are kind of connecting, so you can see this person was probably typing as they're thinking, and then they walked away. This is a great first start. Once they would have put this on the table, I would have suggested they back off and come back at it to see where the plot holes are, to see how to strengthen it, how to make it stronger. So it's not bad. It was average. So in the replies, these are just as important. You don't want to outright agree. You want to expand, and you want to challenge. For example, if you go see a movie and you guys are sitting there talking about, did you see this? Did you see this? What do you think about this? I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you, man. Because also, I'm expanding. Or you'd be like, are you sure? Like, how so? Like, how so? Where in the movie did you see that? Explain it to me. You know, or, you know, when they say something, well, we also find ways. Who's we? Who's we? Or say, you know what, I do agree. I think we do find a way, and I could further your point. I could prop you up. I can help you out. This is how we do it. So you want to be constantly challenging and or expanding in your replies. And I'll give you a good example. This student's reply right here, I've changed the names, obviously. Their initial post wasn't quite as strong. It was in the middle of that A and C, but their reply was really good. So putting those two together, reading their discussion and then reading their reply, I could see so many of these popping off the charts. And that actually helped me assess their overall critical thinking, and I was able to give them a grade that they were satisfied with. So I want you to think of this discussion as, you know, you're not reading somebody's opinion. You are discussing their opinion with them. And that's a big difference between a writing assignment. And I'll get to the writing assignment in another video. But for a discussion requires us to challenge, to assert, to expand. And it requires a lot of this to be going on at one time. If you are unsure, if you are doing that, then send it my way. So I could look at it, so I could challenge, so I could help you expand, so I could help pull you out, because I guarantee you already know what you want to say. It's just a matter of getting it out of your head and putting it on paper. Written articulation is one of the hardest skills. Even as a professor, it still takes me a while to get it, you know. And I know with the temptation of AI to help us do that, it's not a bad thing. You know, hey, you know, help me say this. That's fine. But the only problem when we do that too much is we start relying on it too much, and we don't learn how to do that skill ourselves. That's, I feel like, my only sandbox speech about AI. I love Grammarly. I use it all the time. I'm just really careful that Grammarly is not changing my voice or my opinion, and I'm learning how to do it myself, so I'm not constantly dependent or reliant on something else to talk and think for me, because that would just drive me crazy. So okay, I'm gonna go do the other ones, but that is how I would expect you to start pushing yourself towards your discussion posts and replies.